I thank everybody for coming to my presentation today. My name is Bob Nunn, and I'm going to be doing a technical demonstration on the basics of sound system setup. I'm a musician. I have been all my life, since 6 years old or so. But for the last several years, I've had, so there's a train coming. Last several decades, I've had a lot of experience as a sound engineer, as well as renting out sound systems to various bands and in different venues. I've done SMU Farmland Auditorium with Ray Charles. I've done Dallas Convention Center with fusion guitarist Al Di Meola, festival with Dixie Chicks, and way back when, Edie Brickell and the Bohemians, when they were fairly unknown in Deep Ellum, a little intimate club setting out there. So I've had a lot of background in doing that, but what I'm going to do today is show you how easy it is to set up a sound system from the very basics. We're not going to get into details of EQing and volume and things of that nature. And at a certain point, I'll have Zach here do some demonstration if you guys show your skill at actually hooking the system up. But before we get started, I'd like each one of you to go around the room and each one of you introduce yourselves and just real briefly and tell us all favorite artist of yours, favorite musician or musicians. Doesn't have to be everybody in the book, just somebody you like. And what is it about them that makes them unique that you like about that? Start with you.
Hello, my name is Camille Kearney. You all know me. Oh. And I would say my favorite artist is Prince. He's very talented, plays multiple instruments.
Yeah.
Classic.
I have to agree with you.
I'm Zach Carrington. My favorite artist is Billy Corgan, the Smashing Pumpkins. Mm-hmm. He's been a favorite of mine since probably 1989, mostly because he infuses classic blues with soundscapes and shoegaze, alternative rock, psychedelic, using multiple guitar effects on multiple racks.
Covers them all.
Yeah, it's pretty serious rock, so yeah. That's mine.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. I'm Kelly Ryan. I'm your boss. Had to throw that in there. Back when I was younger, I was always a rock kind of guy. I liked, ACDC, Styx, Kansas, all the, I guess, stoner music.
Arena rock.
Arena rock, yeah. And,
Something about the 80s.
Nowadays, I still love rock, basically, but it's more like Shine Down, Breaking Benjamin, those kind of things.
Right. Good.
Mike Herrick. I'm a classic rock. I don't have anybody really new that I really like. Mm-hmm. I'm a ZZ Top fan.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Adi Darbadi. My all-time greatest favorite is Pink Floyd.
Oh,
but always like classic rock.
Mm-hmm.
But also like reggae. Music from other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Stevie Ray Vaughan should get honorable mention, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Steve Mulkey. I'm a classic rocker myself. I like Zeppelin and AC and all that too. I like Skinner, I guess. One of my favorite.
Kind of Southern rock.
I like Southern rock. Yeah. Now I kind of like Jet, a little bit more alternative. I like it fast most of the time.
Oh, okay. Whatever.
Well, that's Justin Bieber here.
Nobody likes Justin. Well, that's sad.
That's last week.
There's a lot to be said for that. Well, I was pretty much raised on classical music, and then I got into jazz quartets and things of that nature, and then got into the Beatles, and they were probably my biggest influence. But I like a lot of the new artists, a lot that you mentioned. I'm kind of all over the map too. So, well, that's good. You guys have a good rounded selection of artists. I like that. All right, so let's get started here. First of all, show of hands. How many of you have a stereo or an AV system in your house? And no? Just not.
Quaker.
You're a Quaker.
Doc.
You go sit in the car and listen to the jams.
I have a doc. I call it doc.
All right. Well, that's okay. So most all of you are familiar with that. So how about familiarity with inputs and outputs? Pretty much everybody. So this ought to be a piece of cake for you. All right. Because that's what we're going to go over is the basics of the sound system, and everything has an input and an output. Water systems, cars, electric systems, people. You got input, something goes in, like a tasty Mexican dinner, and output, something comes out.
Like contrails.
Like contrails. Sound systems are no different. The sound signal goes in to the amplifier from the guitar, and a sound signal comes out. So let's look at the breakdown of components we're going to talk about real briefly. We're not going to go into great detail. Connecting cables is going to be one of them. Mixing consoles. There's so many different ones, large format, small format. I have a large, not quite that big. I have a large format mixer. I brought a small format just for convenience. Main speakers and monitor speakers. Main speakers being your house speakers, monitors what your stage audience, your stage musicians listen to. Microphones, there's so many different kinds. That's a whole class in itself. Musical instruments, of course, and drums, guitar, burning guitar. I like that picture.
I had a question.
Okay.
The main speaker, is that's the one facing the audience?
Yeah, that's your house speaker.
And then the monitor ones are the ones like up on stage?
On the stage for the musician to listen, to monitor what they're doing. Right.
Is that only showing? Like you're up there and you're playing, the ones in front of you, say your place on the stage, most primarily.
Yeah.
Is that just doing the bass because
It's
that's what you're playing, or is it doing everybody?
It's whatever the artist wants. I like to hear vocals. All the bands I play in, I love strong, rich vocals. So I've got to hear that, and especially harmonies. I want to hear everybody that's singing. I want to hear all their parts. The bass, I'm going to catch it out of my amp behind me. I'm going to get the guitar out of their amp. The drums, probably a little feed of drums. But it's each person's choice what they want. Some guys, like guitar players, even though they got an amp right behind them, they want it blaring in their face too. Right. And you're probably familiar with that. But no, I prefer to get as much, not just blasting my head off, but I like the vocals to be there, because when I'm singing, if I can't hear what somebody else is singing, it throws me off. I can't tell where I'm at in my pitch. So to me, that's real important. So, but we'll get into.
But it sounds different than what the audience hears.
Yeah. Hopefully, if you got a good sound guy, because sound man can make or break a band. You got a good sound guy running the front of the house, you should be able to listen to that like you listen to stereo headphones on, a little louder.
Right. But
if it's well balanced, you ought to be able to get everything perfectly. You hear the vocals just right, the bass just right, drums, guitars, keyboards. Up on stage, it's dependent on the musician, what they want.
Learned something there.
Connecting cables. Start off with XLR cables. These are usually what you would use for a microphone. Also be used for speakers, depending on the types of speakers. Like mine have XLR connections. So you've got your cable, the female and the male connector, and then that's what basically what it would look like on the mixing console. That's a male connector on the mixing console, but there's also a female. So it depends on what you're using that for. Phono or quarter-inch cables, also referred to as TRS or TS. TRS being tip, ring, sleeve, or TS, tip, sleeve. TS are generally mono quarter-inch cables. Tip, ring, sleeve could be your stereo cable. Let's see if I got one here. I brought a bunch of cables. These are my favorite cables. It's a quarter-inch cable, but these are magnetic, so you can unplug, switch out your instruments, and not get any noise when you're changing instruments from one cable to the other. So that's a tip sleeve. That's what I would use on my bass or keyboard or guitar. Tip ring sleeve is going to be like this. I'll need this back because this goes from the speaker. It has the tip, ring, and the sleeve. Then on the other end, it's got a XLR.
What does XLR stand for?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'll have to look that up and get back with you. Do you know, Zach? XLR?
No.
Just something somebody named.
Microphones.
Extra large speaker.
Your screen went off.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh.
You gotta quit playing that thing and break it.
Thank you. And then RCA, which everybody's familiar with, RCA cables for usually on most stereo systems. There's your input or output jacks, and the RCA cable would look something like that. And then on the other end of that is a mini jack for plugging into your MP3 devices, your iPhone. Then we've got speak-on cables. Those are usually for high-end amplifiers connecting to a speaker cabinet. They are a lot more heavy-duty, handle much greater impedance. Plug that in, turn it on the lock, so it can't come out. And then you have to pull the lock back, turn it to pull it out. And then banana plugs, I don't have any of those. I used to use those on some of my older systems. Basically, it's not much different than any of these other cables, but just the format. You've got a ground and a hot lead, and that would be what the jack looks like. But you don't see many of those anymore.
Well, when you say it can handle higher impedance,
Well, we're not. I don't want to get too much into detail. This could last, a day. But you have different levels: high impedance, low impedance. You have different level of sound coming out, depending on whether you've got balanced, unbalanced, how long your cable can be, how much impedance it can handle, how much power it can distribute. But again, that's a whole other subject in itself. And the mini plugs that I pointed out on the end of this little mini jack, which we'll be using this later to hook up an iPhone to see what that sounds like. Where's the oh yeah, I gotta use that for the speaker later. Mixing console, the front panel. These things look. This is the actual board that I have. These things look real complex, but you've got a stereo system. You have a left channel, right channel, so you've got channels. Okay, a mixing console. Each one of these strips is a channel. It's a channel strip. This would be an input. This whole section right here would be your input section. So on this one, I have 24 channels going in. I can bring, in other words, 24 separate signals, 24 guitars, any mixture of instruments, microphones, into the input. All of these sections, this is your EQ section for equalizing low, mids, and highs. And then you have your auxiliary channels. Those are used for your monitor mixes. On this one, I've got 4 separate monitor mixes, so I can give 4 people on the stage a separate mix. If I have one extra person on there, they're going to have to share one of those or take the main mix. And then I've got the effects, which is FX. That's what abbreviated, but it's the effects signals. This board has built-in effects, stereo, so I can do 2 different effects. I can do a delay, I can do a reverb, I can do what's called a slapback, which is like a real fast delay, chorus, which kind of sounds like a swirling effect. And then your pan, left and right pan. Each one of these can be a stereo channel or it can be a mono channel. So if it's a mono signal going in, like a guitar, you keep it straight up unless you want to blend a little bit to one side. You want guitar a little bit over to the left. You want your keyboard a little over to the right. And you just pan accordingly. And then each of these assigns, these buttons assign to the output section. And that's this area over here. The effects is both an input and output, kind of like a loop. You've got a signal that goes in, an effect is added to it, comes back out to the main speakers or to the monitor speakers. So over here, you have 4 separate groups. These can be used for any number of things. They can be for monitor mixes. They can be for separate effects signals, effects channels. If you have an extra effects box, you've got 2 built-in effects here, but you want more effects than just 2, you can get an external box, and you could route them into group 1, group 2, group 3, or group 4. And that's what these buttons do. They assign this channel, this input channel, to a specific group or set of groups. And again, those can be panned left or right. And then you have your main. This is your main output. That's what goes to the house. This could be a stereo or mono mix, depending on the configuration, how you assign it. Then you've got your effects section up here, and your auxiliary sections up here. Again, those control your output to your auxiliary speakers or to the effects channels. And that's a lot of information. We're not going to deal with all of that, but just kind of want to give you a little bit of background on that. Any questions yet?
How many channels is a small one?
A small one, like this one, there's so many different configurations.
Oh, there is?
This is a small one we're going to be using in the demo today. This has 12 channels. They're very compact. You can get one that's 4 channels, 8 channels, 10 channels, 36 channels, 42 channels. It's just have them custom made, specially made. The back console, basically, these are all your connection points. These are where all these cables come into play. You've got your input section that correlates to the front of the board, and you have your output section and effects section. So all those individual channel strips you saw, this is where you put a microphone or a guitar. There's also an insert, which I didn't show you that. An insert plug is basically, say you have a guitar player that he's got all kinds of cool gear on stage, but he wants something special out there that he doesn't have, that you have set up in your rack for the main system and for the auxiliary. You can use an insert, a TRS plug. The insert goes into this jack, and it's basically like a loop to the effects box that you're using. Input, output. The signals being mixed out from that channel out to your effects box, coming back to the effect. So basically it's just looping through, and you're adding that specifically for that one channel. You can do that for all of these. Each one of these has an insert point. I don't use those, basically, because I have the built-in, and I've never really needed more than 2 effects for my band. Output channel, basically you have your auxiliary outs. Signal comes out to the from the mixing console to your auxiliary monitor speakers. Your group outs, you can use those again for looping for more effects. So that's the basic layout of the mixing console. Then we have this one, the one we're going to be using today. No different, just smaller. Each one of these is an input channel strip. It has fewer controls for EQ, low, mid, high. It doesn't really spread too far of range. And you've got 4 channels that you can plug a microphone in or a guitar. And then you have the remaining channels for either stereo, guitar, or keyboards. And there's the input section, similar to the large format output section. And basically you see the back panel is on the top, so it's easy to get to. Speakers, you've got your main stage speakers and subwoofers. These are what I'm using. I've got a Mackie HD1531. It's a 3-way speaker. It has a low, mid horn and a high horn. They're powered. Subwoofer is just one massive bottom speaker. That's where you do that kick from. Both of those are powered monitor speakers. I think they're about 900 watts each. I think the sub is about 600, and can't remember, but I think 1531s were 900. Monitor speakers, like what I've got here. You got the front, the back. These, again, these are powered. You've got a volume control, and it has its own EQ. So you can adjust the EQ for the stage, for the artist on the stage, get exactly what they want. Has 2 1/4-inch male and female jack to connect that to. And then a lot of bands, and we're experimenting with this now, in-ear monitors. So you don't have stage monitors. You don't have the added volume on stage for everybody to battle noise with. You got your own individual mix coming into your earbuds. That way nobody can hear anybody else. I mean, it's a lot quieter, and it's like listening to a stereo. I like it. Our guitar player is not so easily convinced.
That is not to hear what you're playing. That is to hear what the rest of the band.
That's to hear what you're playing and everybody else. Because once you stick those in your ear, you don't hear anything anymore. It's just like plugging your ears. So
when you're making a I don't know, song or something, how would it work?
The headphones, right?
Same thing?
Same concept. It's just direct in the ear canal instead. It's a lot easier to play than wearing headphones on your head. It looks better too. See a bunch of guys sitting on stage standing on stage playing with these on as opposed to
cool.
hidden. It's not cool for the musician because it gets hot up there. You're sweating bullets anyway, so by the time those things will wear out really quick. You did that. Microphones, real quick. Dynamic condenser ribbon. We're not going to get into it. There's so many different types of microphones, different types of applications. Just as an example, this is my vocal mic. It's a Shure Beta 87. It's a super cardioid, very directional. You don't get any noise from the back, no interference from the side. It's pretty much straight on. I love this mic. It's the best mic I've ever used. You've got Shure SM58s are kind of a workhorse. SM57s. This kind of looks like a 58. This is a Bayer Dynamic German mic. This is just a dynamic mic, but again, good for acoustics and vocals. It's more of a cardioid, so it does pick up some sound from the side. Patterns, like I'm talking about, unidirectional, omnidirectional, cardioid, shotgun. It's kind of hard to see this, but these are the patterns. You've got omnidirectional, it's going to take everything around you. Unidirectional, it's going to be a little bit narrower pass. Shotgun, cardioid. Again, that's a whole course in itself, what you can do with mics. Connection types are wireless and wired. You can have wired mics, wireless mics. And input devices, of course, got guitar and bass, keyboards, drums, vocals, microphone, percussion, multimedia, like the MP3 player, DVD, CD player, wind instruments like sax, trumpet, and effects. I threw effects in there because a good sound guy with an effects box can really do a lot with these things. A bad sound guy will just totally screw up the band. You know, just like running the board. You've got to know what you're doing. An effect, to me, is like an instrument. So to me, it is like an input. Although I said earlier, it really is an input-output, because what goes in has to come out into some specific channel. But I threw it in the input devices simply because, like I say, you use it like an instrument. If you're a bad musician, your instrument's going to suck. If you're a bad sound guy, that's going to sound bad. So, what goes where? Send, out. You're sending out. So an output signal is also referred to in effects devices and on mixers as a send. It's sending out to something. Auxiliary outs, again, it's what you would use, say, for your monitor mixes. Group outs, you would use those for any number of things. You could use them for monitor mixes. You could use them for effects. Direct outputs, that is basically you're sending a signal into a channel strip. And a direct out is nothing. It's clean, untouched, unvarnished signal what's going in. So you can use that for any other number of things. We're not going to deal with that today, but it's just basically a direct signal in, coming back out like it was. Main outs, that's what your front of the house, your stereo, left and right, or mono. Returns, just like a send is an output, a return is an input. It's returning back in using a loop for effects. You'd use a send and return. Line and mic inputs. A line input is like the 1/4 inch TRS or TS jacks. That's a line input. Guitar, keyboards, bass. Microphone input is the XLR connection. Pass-through. These speakers, a good example of a pass-through. It has an input. That's the female connector for the XLR cable to go in. The signal's coming out of the mixer, going in to the speaker. And then the sound's coming out the front. A pass-through is if you want to daisy chain this. You want another speaker over here. You want the same signal going to it. You take this out. It passes out through to the other speaker. However, you can also use as an input, which we will today, because I don't have the right cable to connect to this input. So if you get in a pinch, you've used all your cables up, and you don't have the right connection, you've got all female connections and no more male cables to connect to your input, you can use the female XLR in to use that as an input. So it works either way. So pass-through can go either way. And insert, like I said, that's a loop. That's an input and an output. So it's basically going in and coming back out for effects purposes. So that's a whirlwind discussion of sound system basics. Let's review. Somebody tell me what an input is.
Signal coming in.
Yeah. Signal.
Our musical instruments.
Yeah. And that's exactly what you use to connect an input, a musical instrument. So you've got something going into the mixer, like a keyboard, guitar, drums, microphones, vocals, what have you. So what's an output? Mike?
Signal out.
Thank you. See how easy it is? So what would you connect to an output? Dean?
Speaker.
Yeah, excellent. It's not rocket science, is it? Cable and connector types. Can you name some cables we talked about?
XLR.
TRS. TF.
Yeah.
RCA.
RCA.
Well, they have all these different kind of cables, just like hooking up my TV at home.
Exactly.
It used to be these AV, and it used to be coax, and now it's all down to all you need is HDMI cable.
Mm-hmm.
So when are they going to do that with all this stuff?
Man, I can't wait.
I mean, it's just all you need is HDMI cable go from here.
I would love to have the money, and I know it's out there. I'd love to have the money to be able to afford a totally wireless system where I didn't have to spend. But all the money you spend on the cables, you're going to dump into that and then some for a wireless system. So what kind of cables connect to what type of devices? You said XLR. What would you use an XLR for?
One of those pass-throughs right there.
Microphone.
Okay, and a microphone, speaker. What about a TS or 1/4 inch cable? Yeah. What about a mini jack, mini plug?
Your iPhone.
Okay. I think you guys are getting this. So you think you could hook up a sound system?
No.
Because we're getting ready to try that.
Well, like a computer, you got to put it where it goes, right?
Exactly.
It only fits in one spot.
That's right. All right. So let's see if we can do it. How about Steve? Why don't you come up here and hook up the speaker? Hook up a speaker. Connect the
Why?
speaker. Just connect the speaker up to
an output, dude.
to the mixing console.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I have to be first.
Why not?
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit.
I'll tell you what, I'll make it easy for you. Once you plug the power in, we didn't even talk about power. kind of enough where you can still see the jack. And then I'm going to have you pick the cable that you think would go from there to the main output of the mixer. In this case, the main outputs of the mixer are TRS connectors. On that main mixing console I had, they're XLRs. So many different configurations, like I say. That's it. Yep, that's all you need.
Well, jam.
Go ahead and turn it around. Now let's have somebody else come up here. Camille, how about you come up and hook up the other speaker? And then while she's doing that, Zach, I'm not going to call on you because you're like the plant. You already know how to do all this stuff.
Oh, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, exactly. Kelly, why don't you come up and Zach, go ahead and give him your phone.
Over facing Sunside.
Now, where do you think you would connect that? We were talking about main outputs and control room outputs. Now, these are going to be our main speakers. So, where do you think this would go? Okay. Remember, this is the input section, and you're coming out of this to go to the speaker.
Not anymore.
You need to
But up here you do.
Oh.
And then you got your RCA jacks. Now you have two RCA connections here. You have an input and you have an output, and you're wanting this signal to go into the board and out of the speaker. So where do you think that would go?
I would go with the color, right?
Perfect.
I couldn't even move where my speakers were at.
Well, I was going to tell you that after we got them set up. You were on the right track, but you weren't reading the connections. Come up here and let me show you. The one mistake that if you got a musician on stage and you did what you did,
I see what you're saying.
he would have been like, I'm not getting any signal out of this speaker because you put it into the effects send. It needs to come out, so it can come out of the main out.
Okay.
Right.
I knew that. I was just going to see.
You hopped that up, didn't you?
We did a test.
Oh, I did.
Let's see.
Says you got to kink it properly, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't have it. Say you want to plug an instrument in. 3. You got your musician waiting to play. So you're kind of like the roadie. You just wait for you to get everything wired up and then get it in the instrument. Really good for me. There's a number of inputs, so you can pick any number.
Well, my workout is a lot harder than that.
Yeah, that would be. And if he did it right, then our musicians should be able to, yeah, let's do it here. Back cable, no, I don't need a back cable. Yeah, no, that's almost like far. Yeah, there's batteries in a lot of cars now. Yeah, active electronics. Oh, no way. No, these are transition batteries. Oh, battery. That's the oh well.
You don't have any battery?
No.
Test it with a mic.
We can try Mike. Who wants to hook up a microphone? Who hasn't done
We need the XLR on one hand.
Come on, Mike. Give it a try. Everybody else has done one. Hook up a
I don't have
microphone.
to read anything, I don't have the glasses, but.
Oh, this is not the one you use. So you're going to hook a microphone up to any one of the 4 microphone channels.
Okay. Does it make a difference which one?
No, it really doesn't. You know, when you're setting up, everybody has the order. Every sound guy has his own specific order. I do mine based on like left to right for microphones. The first one is over here, the second one is here, the third one's over there, and then I do either the guitar and
Pick it up at the same time.
No.
I'll see if that works.
Test 1, 2, man.
It worked. Good job. Check. So, there you have it. The basics of setting up a sound system. You guys plugged it all up and it worked except for the dead battery. I'm sorry, man. No. I would have liked to have heard you play along with yourself. So, anybody have any questions? Think you got it down? Very good. Well, I appreciate it again for doing this with me and for Kelly for letting us do this presentation. So, you guys have a good afternoon.
Very good.